Hi, guys. Welcome to the Marketing Rizz Podcast. I am your host, Crispino, and today we have with us Tim King, all the way from Bendigo, Australia. Tim helps SMEs in Australia and New Zealand automate their work and reclaim hours that can be used to scale and build their business. So, in this episode, we are going to talk about AI automation, new tools in the market, processes and frameworks when implementing AI, and much more. So, welcome to the show, Tim. It is great to have you here with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, Crispino.
So, Tim, yes, to begin with, can you start off by telling our audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm Tim King. I run a company here in Victoria, Australia, not quite Melbourne, but close, called
Yeah.
Regravity. So Regravity deals with that kind of messy process space that a lot of businesses get into when you end up with a business where you've grown, you may have adopted a bunch of people, you've got a lot of systems. And at that sort of point, you start to feel under the pressure to perform better. So rather than having to go back out to market and try and source new systems or find new better processes, it's where Regravity comes in. We audit the process end to end, figure out where all the pitfalls are, and then start to understand what we can actually automate in that space so that your humans can get back to the good work that they should be doing and your business can continue to grow.
Awesome, awesome. That's somewhat the space that I operate in as well. So, and I think we have quite a similar journey. So, I'd like you to tell a bit about how did you get into creating Regravity and what were you like in your previous life?
Yeah, wow. Okay. So Gravity actually started 20 years ago. So
Okay,
I bought the domain back in 2000,
okay,
not with the intent for it to ever become some form of like
yeah.
AI studio or any sort of automation studio at all. But
Hmm.
I bought it way back then, having these lofty ideals of being a 25-year-old kind of web developer slash sort of graphic designer guy. Ran
Yeah.
that for a couple of, actually never ran it as a business until fairly recently, but I started a business, was doing that. But then found myself needing to eat and pay rent. So I decided to close down my old business and started up working with a financial company here in Australia, a fairly large bank here in Australia.
Hmm.
13 and a half years after that, working across a number of roles, customer service, primarily technology, into internal communications and a few other things. I found myself redundant in 2020, at the very end of 2020, and kind of didn't
COVID.
look back. I immediately went back into the workforce and started working for myself again.
Awesome. That's amazing. So, what's exciting you about AI and where it's headed right now?
It's a really big mixed bag right now. I think,
Yeah.
if you had have asked me this question 6 months ago, we saw that kind of slow, but yet, well, I shouldn't say even slow. Yeah, we saw a progression. There was a definite kind of, where we've come from to where we were then was a progression. The last 6 months, we've
Hmm.
seen that kind of exponential explosion of AI into
Hmm.
everything, almost like that bit of a dot-com bubble that happened sort of late 90s.
Yeah.
But I suppose what excites me about it is that it's lowering the bars of possibility. There's things that I'm doing now that I myself would need a team of 10 people to do over
Hmm.
6 months that I can do in, a week myself using a couple of coding agents and I've got a couple of AIs that actually live on my desk here as well.
Hmm.
And then from an operations perspective, I'm not afraid to say that I'm actually a one man business,
Hmm.
but I do have employees as in that kind of sense. I've built,
Agents.
well, sort of.
Okay.
I've kind of taken the paradigm of agents and then gone a little step further. So
Hmm.
I've now got 5 AI agents, if you will, or AI employees,
Love it.
but they have their own space they can talk in. They can think about things on their own terms. They can talk to me
Hmm.
directly. They can, yeah, like they sort of they work more autonomously. Not in the sense of like open claw, which is a whole other thing I can touch on if you're there, but um they work more autonomously with me in the loop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Simon Sinek or someone said that Mark Cuban, I think, that the next generation of millionaires will be one man entrepreneurs. So definitely, I think with the level of technology and the kind of capability it has, you can definitely do a lot. So I'd like to ask you, what kind of small to medium businesses are coming to you with AI requirements? What are the most common requirements you're seeing in the market right now?
For sure. Look, I mean, I suppose this is where we need to separate automation from AI because they
Hmm.
get conflated and they sort of get pushed together really quickly.
Hmm.
Automation is boring, but it's supposed to be
Hmm.
boring. It's supposed to be that we're taking information from system A and then putting it in system
Yeah.
B or vice versa. We're not supposed to be saying, let's wired into this magic black box AI that then spits out information in a pattern that we expect.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of automation are starting to try and sell that to clients. They're trying to say, we just plug everything into an agent and then the agent just does some stuff on the background and, you get
Mm,
magic out at the end. And the company who deploys it barely understands what the AI agent is even doing, let alone,
mm,
actually like solving the problem. So I just wanted to separate automation from AI.
yeah.
Regravity's primarily an automation company. I still do
Mhm,
have AI functions and still deploy AI, of course, but it's something that's
yeah.
it's on the upper end, and it's in the minority of what Gravity does. But I mean, the types of requests that I'm seeing, it's usually like, how do we take document X and make sure it ends up in bucket Y? It's how do
Mm,
we make sure that when Gary touches the CRM and he flips over a little field in a CRM, that it
mm,
then a chain of events happens, whether it be an email that goes to the boss and
mm,
something else happens in the sales pipeline, and just to be able to
mhm,
wire and become, I like what I like to sort of say is it's their requests that bring you closer to the technology and bring the technology back closer to you, so you can work
mm,
in step with it rather than having to go to the computer to then push the button to flip the field to then move over to something else and copy and paste it somewhere and then do the same thing so that the boss can see it as well. Just having
yeah.
those things working in concert. I think that's that frictionless space that I think I was what I'm mainly seeing come through. It's people who have got, you know, business issues that they've had for 5 or 10 years, and that with a smart audit and application of good automation and
Mm,
solidly backed infrastructure, we can iron those things out and make it so that the general manager or the CEO who has to constantly come back down to the floor level to put out spot fires doesn't have to
mm,
happen anymore. They've got better controls, there's better reporting, there's better flow of information. That's
mm.
kind of the thing I'm seeing mostly.
So this next question, I like to use it as an opportunity to kind of educate our audience. So I like to ask you, you spoke about auditing over there. So what should a company do to audit before they kind of want to jump into AI automation? What auditing should they conduct internally to understand, even if they need AI?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. It's something that I think a lot of other automators or a lot of other AI people will probably keep this quite close to their heart. But I don't think there's any benefit in actually trying to hide that behind doors or gatekeep what an audit
Mm,
should look for. Look, really, it's about counting, and this is what the way I sort of say it to my clients is that if you have a process that bugs you every single day of the week, you know
mm,
have a notepad, have a Excel spreadsheet, have something on your phone, and just count the amount of
mm,
times it's happened. And then, if
mm,
you can say, okay, well, every time it happens, how many minutes did it take for me to solve that? How many other people did I need to loop in to be able to get that solved?
mm,
How much time out of their day did it take? And you can start to see
mm,
that sort of almost geometric pattern that appears out of
mm,
just one simple task taking far too much time. Like I was talking to a colleague many, many years ago now. This is before I was doing automation stuff, but just doing it in corporate. And I asked a colleague, that I noticed that my colleague who sat next to me, she was doing a lot of like reporting and a lot of other bits and pieces. And there was one particular task she had to do in the reporting that when she clicked a
mm,
button, it would take between 30 seconds and maybe 3 minutes for it to report back for her to complete the next task, to do the next thing, the next thing. And
mhm,
just based on that, I asked her, so simple questions. How many times a day do you have to do this? And she said, oh, between 10 and 15. I'm like, okay. And then
mm,
how many days a week are you doing this? Well, I do it every day of the week. So we talk 15 requests times 5. Every minute, every one of them is taking between 30 seconds to 3 minutes to be able to process. So let's just say 3 minutes is maximum. Every single one of them took 3 minutes. You start to see
mm,
that at the end of the month, that's going to be an enormous amount of time. At the end of the year, that she might as well take it. She could have had a 4-week vacation just by
yeah.
sitting there having to wait for this thing to continually process through.
Mm,
So being able to lower the barrier between the reporting and being able to remove that step so that the reporting happened automatically. She didn't have to push the button anymore. Or if she did, maybe it
mm,
was once a day, not 15 times a day. And tightening those little controls up could make enormous amounts of like that's 4 weeks more work she could have done, or 4 weeks worth of, as I said, leave she could have taken. Or there's
mm,
there's a there's a huge knock on effect. Once you start equating those sorts of figures to the actual money that people are spending on, whether it be a person to do a dumb task like push a button or to run a report or to do certain things just so that someone else has visibility. It's really,
Yeah.
it becomes very apparent where those savings come and like they're just the power of that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we recently ran a couple of agents on N10, and so we built them on N10. We automated like a scraping, data entry kind of a task, and that itself helped the entrepreneur save about 1 hour daily, so 7 hours a week. So there you go. Like I mean, 7 for the 20, 28 to 30 hours in a month. So that's like a huge benefit. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Why do you think some systems or automations fail when organizations are trying to implement it? What do you often see are the bottlenecks?
Good question. I think when an organization gets to a point where they are first opening the door with automation, they're very, very gentle with it. It starts off that they
Mm,
just want to be able to get a couple of small things done. And once they see
mm,
the power of that, once they see the benefit of it, they'll ramp up fairly sharply into bigger and bigger and bigger projects. Eventually, I think they want to get to that Apple state where they just push one big button in the morning and their entire workday gets done, which is nice sounding, but it's not a reality to really take. But I think where they get stuck is they get to a point when somewhere after they've done those first few implementations, they get to a point where they start to look at the complexity of their stacks, and they start to go, but if we just wire these 5 tools together to this one outcome, then they stop asking the question, why do we need 5 tools for one outcome? They stop asking the question, well, we could get rid of these 3 things and build and buy something else that's a bit better, or build something else that's a little bit better for themselves. And they kind of get into that really weird space where everything looks like automation to them. I think that's
mm,
the point where it gets stuck. The other one I find, and this is why I run Regravity with a complete mind, so that it is not ever to replace humans in any way. That's not what our goal is. The goal is to be able to get, as I said, humans and technology to work in concert together. But I
mm,
think some business owners get to that point where they see AI or they see automation or they see these sorts of technologies and come along and they're like, oh, wow, I can just replace my entire sales team now. Or
mm,
there goes my entire marketing team. Or, I'll never have to write a LinkedIn post ever again. I'll never have to comment on
mm,
LinkedIn again because I'm just using the bot to do that now. And so
mm,
they feel empowered because they've got minutes back in their day or hours back in their day in their lives.
mm,
But on the other end of it, it doesn't produce what they think that it should produce. So they sort of get almost angry with it because it's not doing what it said it should do, what they expect it to
mm,
do. So expectation setting is a big one, leading people astray from a guidance perspective, uh,
mm.
to buy poor platforms, or to even expect,
Yeah,
or to not so much expect, sorry, to oversell what AI and automation can do. It is
yeah,
great. Don't get me wrong. There are some amazing things. We've seen all sorts of things like, Gemini with its nano banana producing images that most people can't tell the difference between a real image or an AI image. We've
mm.
had all the RAM in the world being eaten
What's
by everyone doing,
yeah?
crazy little crappy videos, and putting them up on
What's your
Facebook.
take? What's your take on that, on the AI slop? Now, recently, I published an article on LinkedIn, and one person, I won't take his name, one of the followers who I connected with on LinkedIn, I think he's automated it with the bot. So on the same article, he has 3 different comments within 2 seconds, paragraph. Like each comment is a big paragraph talking something about the article, but 3 comments. So that's obviously something like a automation gone wrong. But that is one example,
Yeah.
and then all these funny videos that come out, and I feel it's a misuse of AI.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, so 6 to 8 to 12 months ago, you know what? It's a brand new thing. Everyone was having fun with it. Sure, go ahead and do it, right? The slop was fun. I think where the height of slop was when we started seeing on TikTok where it was like Italian brain rot, and it was like the voice talking over the top or speaking in fake Italian, talking over the top of like crazy looking AI generated creatures and things. I think that was about
Yeah.
the height of it. Everything else it's just gone downhill from there. It was that, and what was it? The Bigfoot videos where he's like walking through the forest with a selfie cam, talking to camera like he's a YouTuber.
He's a
Like
YouTuber, yeah.
I think that was it. I mean, there's always going to be people who use this sort of technology for
Yeah.
strange and crazy and just entertainment purposes. For 2 reasons, I don't believe in that anymore, or I don't believe in it at all. I never really
Yeah.
have. One is the resource use in of the world. I mean, I know I had a bit of a heated debate on LinkedIn myself recently. There was a particular post that most people might recognize where it was a person who used 5 different models to figure out whether it was better to walk to their car wash 50 meters down the road or to drive their car to the car wash to get their car washed. And so
Hmm.
while everyone was sort of like pontificating about which model worked better, I said, well, you've just used 5 models to ask the same question for
Yeah,
no purpose. Look, there's no utility in that whatsoever.
exactly.
Just to be able to get yourself a bit of kudos on LinkedIn and to
Yeah,
make a post because you felt like you hadn't posted anything for a while. Anyway,
yeah,
I sort of equated it though that he'd used 40 times the amount of water to be able to ask these 5 questions than it would be
exactly.
to wash his car. Probably not 40, but it sparked this big
Yeah, I get your
debate.
point on the resources that's been used, and these RAMs are really expensive because of AI. The pricing has gone really
Yeah,
high.
yeah. So I think AI and automation and all of the cool technology out there, it's great, but it's got to have a utility. Before you go and
Yes.
say, "Hi, ChatGPT, can you give me a recipe for beef stew?" Maybe do a Google search first. But just because there are already a
Yeah.
billion of them out there, and you don't need to. I mean,
Exactly.
that said, even a Google search is using significant amounts now with their induction of the AI overview. Anyways,
Yeah. Maybe Tim, we have stumbled on something really nice here. Maybe we could make a product or something that stops the AI swap, an AI product that stops the AI swap in the future.
I wish because all of these platforms are tagging now which
Yeah.
videos are AI. I know
Yeah.
LinkedIn's doing it. I know, I think Instagram's doing it now as
YouTube's
well.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all doing it, right? I wish there was a
Yeah.
toggle.
Hmm.
Flip the toggle, turn off the AI slot,
Yeah.
so that
Yes,
then I
exactly.
can actually see videos that I want to, or that I might want to watch. Or not that I spend a lot of time on these platforms, but it would still be nice
Hmm.
to be able to have a conscious choice. Do you want to see more AI
I
content
think
or
they are
not?
getting to, yeah, I think that will come up. Something of that sort will be built. And that's the reason why they're trying to collect the information on how many videos are from AI and which accounts are AI. So accordingly, they'll see that these accounts send videos to certain accounts. I mean, I'm just assuming,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's where it should be headed. Generative AI, Tim, have you had a chance to use it for your own marketing or content? I mean, you just said that you automate LinkedIn. So I think you create using generative AI, right? So tell me a bit about your own experience with generative AI.
Yeah, sure. So, but prior to, because I was doing copywriting just before I moved into doing the Gravity, one of the big
Yeah.
things for me was in my old copywriting business was how can I use AI in a smart way to be able to lower the bar for my deliverables that I needed to do. Now, I would never, ever, and I have never, just push the AI button and let it produce some
Yeah.
content and then sold it to someone. I was always prompting and building up my prompting skills to be able to get it to generate some great content, but then take it away and I would pull it apart in my text editing environments and then line edit the whole thing, make sure it all sounded right, tighten it back up again, and then deliver to my client.
Hmm.
It took me from 5 days to produce a really strong solid piece to maybe like a day. But
Hmm.
the benefit was massive to do that.
Yeah.
And I think it still is great in that kind of sense. Generative AI is good when it has been trained well and when it's been prompted well. So
Hmm.
I'm happy to talk about this. I've got a client that I built an article engine for. Essentially, the way the article I won't name the client, of course, but the article
Hmm.
engine, it essentially they have a spreadsheet because they that's how
Hmm.
they run. As I said, obviously tooling with the things that they understand. So they've got a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet they lay in information they'd like to put into an article, set it as ready. The article engine picks up the ready lines, rows, and then uses that information to be able to mix that down into a researched article. So it goes off. It'll do web searches, find information, research that information, research the company
Hmm.
it's for, and then put together an article that is compelling enough to be able to be read by a human, of course. It's multi-keyword targeted, so it's good for like the SEO purposes. It
Hmm.
generates an image at the top of it with Nano Banana. It's something that's been a more recent addition as Nano Banana 2
Nice.
became available.
Which tool is this?
Oh no, so this is one that I built myself. This is
Oh,
a piece of
lovely.
kit that we've built, and then it delivers it back to them in a Google environment. So back in a Google Doc because that's the environment they use. Delivers
Yeah.
them a Google Doc that they can then open up, line edit, and do what they need to. And as far as I can tell, pretty happy with that. And they can easily get into the document, make their edits. They can have multiple people come and look at it and do different iterations of them for themselves. But really, it
Hmm.
wasn't about the automation itself with the generative AI component. It was about the
Hmm.
outcome. then it delivered them. It meant that they didn't have to spend more money on having additional headcount to be able to write the volume of
Copywriter, graphic designer.
yeah, all of those sorts of people putting together, some even just the time spent trying to pick an image for an article. I mean, I've written many
Hmm.
many many articles over my time. By hand, of course, and picking an image for one. Sometimes you can go to Unsplash and find one in 30 seconds. Sometimes it'll take you a week to try find the one that actually makes sense for the article, right?
Yes, been there. I've been there. Yeah.
Exactly. So look, I think Gen AI, from a written perspective, absolutely great.
Yeah.
From a video perspective, some of the stuff that's coming out right now in Gen AI is insane. I think there was something I saw, which is like, I think it was Flux 2.0,
Hmm.
or Flux point 2, or whatever they're calling it. You can give it a single static shot with a scene set, and it'll go and produce multicam kind of
Yeah. Even Runway
environment
ML
video.
does that really well.
Yeah.
Runway ML.
So I think there's some really exciting uses of it. I think that it's also like from a video perspective for people who can't have multicam setups and big Hollywood sort of things. Yeah, okay, great, it works. The thing that I worry about with that level of Gen AI though is that it takes away from an industry that is well established. So Hollywood itself, you start to ask the question when you see Will Smith eating a bowl of spaghetti for about the 15 millionth time in the last 5 years. You got to ask the question, like, I mean, he never asked to be put into AI to be eating a bowl of
Yeah.
spaghetti. As much as there's recognition that it is Will Smith or something that looks like Will Smith, sort of sometimes, what does he get out of that? Like, what's the benefit that he gets?
Hmm.
What's the benefit that a human flesh and blood individual who would normally appear on camera to be able to do things do it? And we're seeing in things like Netflix, and a few of those different other production studios, the production rights when they're signing them on as an actor also include the
Yeah.
potential perpetual use of their image for the lifetime
Yeah.
of
The
that
Avatar.
production,
Yeah.
which is good in some aspects because if
Yeah.
you are, let's say it's a new, I don't know, there's the new Game of Thrones style TV show that's out there, the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, I think it's called. If you have big set pieces and it costs you $4 million an episode to be able to produce, yeah, having to go and do a reshoot, that's insane. So being able to
Hmm.
fix something in the flow by using an AI gen character that can be dropped in that looks just like the
Yeah.
actor for a 2-second shot, fine, right? If it's
Yeah.
then going, well, we actually needed we spent the $4 million, but we've only got $200,000 left to be able to spend on this episode, and we need 4 more scenes because we've just written them in, and then they'd go and film 4 scenes if they will film it
Hmm.
in AI. That's terrible. No, don't do that unless there's a direct monetary value that's going back to the actor. There's or to the set crew.
Yeah.
Like every person who makes that thing happen needs to be taken
Hmm.
care of in that sense, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think Gen AI is a hard one. It has really cool features. It
Hmm.
has really terrible potential because how many times we've seen Donald Trump be on a video now saying
Yeah.
random things that he's never said, right? How do I tell my mother that he never said that when it
Yeah.
looks so good, right?
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
misinformation thing, even with like some of the political stuff that's going on right now in the Middle East and other bits and pieces,
Yes.
how do you prove what was real?
And yeah, especially at this time when there is so much of political unrest, you can't. Like, I saw a video this morning of a fighter jet dodging missiles, and then someone in the comment section wrote it as AI. But when you see it for the first glance, or if you are just scrolling to it, you definitely think that yes, this is real. Yep.
Yeah, and it can set agendas. So there was a video I saw, and I believe it's real. There was a video I saw of a missile falling from the sky and hitting a
Hmm.
residential area in Doha, Qatar.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I've seen that.
I
Yeah,
I mean, I watched that and went like, oh my god, that's an atrocity, and it was. Like, as far as I
yeah.
know, it's a real video.
It
But the
seemed
first
real. Yeah.
the first 25 comments were people laughing about, oh, the AI got it wrong, that the missile just fell out of the sky. What did it do? Run out of fuel? And they were laughing about the fact that this video looked like it must have been AI generated
Hmm.
because the missile didn't just come straight down and hit. Missiles
Hmm.
run out of fuel and they fall
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
ground. That's often how
No,
they hit.
that's one thing. Also, what happens is, Tim, sometimes forgot what do you call it. There's a nice name for it. They are debris, or when they launch, they leave the casing behind, so the casing
Okay,
falls off.
right.
Yeah, and then the missile goes and attacks its target.
Yeah,
I
right.
forgot
Okay,
the
there you
term
go.
for
So, yeah,
that.
so it's got like a second stage to it. Sure. So, I mean, I don't know anything
Yeah,
about that modern weaponry really, other than, that video looked terrible with the big
yeah,
fireball coming at the end of it and people running and screaming away from it, which I think is fair enough.
yeah, yeah.
But the fact that the people in the comments, in those first sort of 2025 comments, couldn't tell whether it was real or not, or it's almost like they were numb to it. And they decided that,
Hmm.
not whether it was or wasn't, but they decided that they would comment on the way the missile was acting more than this is
I don't
news.
know, what do you call these people, Tim? Do you call them trolls, or is it like we are we have become so accustomed to this, or we have become so rock-hearted because Fairmount Hotel in Dubai, one of the shells, the missile shell
Mm.
is what it's called. The shells fell over there, and there was like a blast or something. People went to Google reviews and started commenting on the Google reviews. I don't like, and give it a 1 star. I don't like this hotel. It doesn't have a rocket launcher. Another person, I don't like the pool. The water is cloudy from the missile debris.
Oh.
I was like, guys,
Yeah,
I
see
think
that.
the internet is a very cruel place.
Well, I think it's become that way. Look, I mean, I don't know whether it's because of AI or because of whatever. I think there's a lot going on in the world,
Yeah, yes,
and
absolutely.
we've been, since sort of 2020 and just moving on after the pandemic and everything that's happened. I think we're over a lot of things. I think, sadly, that
Yes,
doesn't mean to
yes,
say that
yes.
bad things don't continue to happen in the world. So yeah, wow, I Google reviews for the hotel. That's madness. I
You should
can't
check it
imagine.
out. It's
I
hilarious. It's
will.
hilarious. So, Tim, I'd like to ask you, a lot of our audience are startup entrepreneurs, coaches, service providers.
Yep.
So, what are some three basic AI tools, maybe generative AI or other automation tools, that a coach or a startup entrepreneur can use to kind of automate their work or create content? Any three tools that you think are really important and should be adopted right away?
Sure. Look, I'm going to go back to Notebook LM. I think if you're in that coaching space or in that kind of, not so much a service based business, but a business that you deal with people a lot, going into Notebook LM is a really powerful thing. Even if it's not that you don't use anything from it, but you use it as a way to generate great ideas or to be able to come up with other ways you could
Hmm.
look at your own content. One of the best things about that tool is you can put some information in. So you might write a document or an article or, do something along those lines, put it in, and then it can spit out for you a outline, of course, in sort of, text form, but it can also produce a slide deck, or it could produce a set of flashcards, or it could produce, something, a few other bits and pieces there. It can produce not marketing assets or marketable assets really, but it gives you at least something to refer to that isn't you. So you can hear how a couple of other people might talk about that on like a
Hmm.
broadcast show, or you can read a pack, like a PowerPoint pack, or read a slide deck about how that content might hang together to give you really good direction, I suppose, or to at least start to help craft that direction. I'm going to say Gemini generally. Just
Hmm.
Google Gemini is what I personally use as my kind of daily driver, I suppose, paid AI. I'm a part of the Google Workspace group. So if you've already got Google Workspace, you've already got access to Gemini
You got
Pro.
a Gemini, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just, if you talk about a middle of the road paid AI, it's really good. I mean, if you're coding, go and get Claude. If you're
Hmm.
wanting to deal with whatever OpenAI are doing this week, go get ChatGPT. But I think
Hmm.
Gemini is just a good, all sort of all rounder, all purpose kind of AI system, as much as they're extending it to other things as well. So they're probably those two things. And I know they both, I sound like a Google fanboy. I'm not, but just that they are two things that have come out of the Google stables. The other one I would probably look at would be, what can you do locally on your own
Hmm.
machine versus going out into the world? Because if it's something that's just, you're just looking to, go and get an answer from something that's not you, you might not have to look that far afield. And it's a little more technical, I guess, but running a local model with either Olama or LLM Studio is probably the lowest bar, because that you just download that application for free, hit a button, downloads a model, you can start talking to a model. Exploring AI a little bit more locally is definitely where I see it going. As I said, I've got a couple here that's sitting on my desk, and knowing that I own it, knowing that the data's not going anywhere else, knowing that it's just myself and my computer talking to each other versus whatever's out there in a massive data center. If you're a marketer or something, maybe I really like the app for iPhone. I think it's on Android as well, but it's called PhotoLeap. that takes you down a different route. Photolib is video generation and image generation for your phone, of course, but it uses Midjourney as its background. As far as
Okay.
it used to use Midjourney. I think it still does, which can give you a different quality. Again, it can give you a bit slightly different polish to what, say, Nano Banana will, or OpenAI doing images or whatever. But in above all, as I said before, make sure whatever you do actually has purpose and utility.
Yeah.
Entertainment's fine, but using these tools for what they're actually intended for, to be able to push whatever you're doing further a bit more, or to actually provide benefit. That's kind of the goal here.
Perfect. Perfect. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Tim, for your time. I got to learn about a few new tools. I hope you had a good time as well. I enjoyed the
Yeah, absolutely.
conversation. Yeah, we went way over time. So thank you for sticking around.
Not a problem at all.
And I loved it. All
Yeah,
right.
same.
Awesome. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Tim for automation needs, what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, look, so you can either connect with me one of two ways. The business is called Regravity. That's REGRAVITY.com. Otherwise, if you're looking for just me as a person, or you're looking to try and get some more context on who I am, I write over at hellotimking.com. That's just my personal kind of blogging space. But yeah, Regravity is the business side. If you're looking for automation, you're looking to be able to talk about strategy. We don't just do the automation component. We also do fractional CTO, kind of system design and things as well. So helping businesses understand the tech stack and make good decisions. If you ask us the question about some tech, we're probably going to have an opinion. So, there's lots of different things we can do over there. But yeah, as I said, automation, AI sort of agent development, and kind of that fractional CTO sort of stuff is what we do in Regravity. And Hello Tim King, as I said, it's more of my personal rant. It's where I shoot things out into the world that people have opinions on.
Lovely, lovely, Tim. I'll put down these links in the description of the video, and I'll also
Cool.
put down your LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you on LinkedIn, they can do
Oh
that
yeah,
as well.
I always forget LinkedIn. Feel free to be able to DM me on LinkedIn, or follow me over there as well. Absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Tim. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.
No problem. You too.